Welcome back to Grumpy Acres Farm. This is the second in our full spectrum video series entitled Urban Survival 101. And today we're going to be diving into one of the most critical categories of survival, food. Specifically, how to manage food preparedness in an urban or suburban environment. All right, see, look at that. I got the PowerPoint presentation for you again. Whether you live in a high-rise downtown or in a house in a small yard in the suburbs, the reality is that food security is fragile. And when the system breaks down, hunger follows quickly. All right, I want to welcome everybody into the chat. We got Lynn there, Utah Mike, thanks for joining us. Listen, guys, if you're new to the channel and you're not a subscriber, I'm going to ask you to do this now, but I want you to wait till the end of the video, okay? So I want you to think about subscribing. Watch this video, and if you think this content is worthwhile, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button. Hit the notification bell so you know when the next video from this series comes out. And if you're watching this on replay, if you wait to the end of the video, there will be a link to the very first video so you can start and catch up on the video that we did last week, the introductory video. Because this is the second in what's going to be a 12, 15 part video series, it looks like. All right. With that said, we're going to start. Food is one of the top 3 essentials in survival, right along with water and shelter. You guys have heard of the rule of 3. You can last 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So that's the rule of 3. So you can last 3 weeks without food, but by day 3, your focus, energy, and morale start to collapse. In a crisis, grocery stores will be stripped in less than 72 hours. We see that in real time these days. We saw it in Hurricane Helene. We saw it during the riots in 2017 and 2020, and the riots that are happening now in the major cities. And resupply chains can take weeks or never return at all. I got curious when I was getting ready for this video, and I went out and I started searching on how the supply chains had recovered from Hurricane Helene there in North Carolina and Tennessee, Kentucky. And if you look at it, the supply chain in a lot of areas is still non-existent. And that's been what, 5-6 months ago? You know, it's really, really a fragile thing. In fact, I did a video about 1.5 years ago. You can go find it in the back catalog of the videos about the control points on our food system, and it's really eye-opening and a little bit scary if you look at it really closely. You know, in the full spectrum preparedness model, food isn't just about calories. It's about sustainability, morale, barter potential, and long-term independence. Food is also tightly linked to water, medical, and financial preparedness. If you lose one, you strain the others. All right, moving on. Unique challenges for the urban suburban preppers. Now let's get honest about what we're going up against in cities and suburbs. Here are the major food preparation challenges. Limited space. No acreage, no livestock, no root cellars. If you live in an urban core where you don't have a yard or you're living in an apartment, yet it's really hard to have livestock of any sort. You definitely don't have a root cellar, and you got very little space to grow a garden. You don't have land access. You know, like I said, you don't live in a backyard, or it's very small, or you don't have access to plant rows of crops. You can't plant the 4,000 square foot garden that Azure says you need to support one person for a year if you're living solely off the garden. The next thing, you got storage limitations. Closets. No, I think I forgot to Oh, there you go. I forgot to move the slide. Storage limitations. Closets, garages, and pantries may already be full. Noise and visibility. Anything you cook or grow might draw attention in a crisis. When we were at Doug and Stacy's vending there, we set up right next to Ty and his wife, the guy that owns All American Son Oven. And he was telling me a story about the relief agencies that went into Haiti after what was it? It was during the Clinton years, the big earthquake that happened during the Clinton years. And what was happening was these food agencies would start cooking food, and people could smell it from miles away, and they would descend on where these agencies were, and they'd just strip them bare. They'd steal everything. And then if you're living in the urban core or in a suburb, you're dependent on the grid. Most people rely on electricity for refrigerators, digital recipes. How many people keep their stuff on a tablet or just look it up online? And online delivery services. That's one of the big things that's changed over the last 10, 12 years are Uber Eats and direct to your door delivery of food. You know, it's people are really dependent on it now. And finally, regulations and HOAs. Even collecting rainwater or planting edible landscapes can be restricted. You know, if you look, there's a guy in Los Angeles that actually took the city council to court because he had planted a garden in the little strip of dirt between his house and the sidewalk that in the street. He had planted there and he was growing a garden, and the city came in and tore it out because it was illegal. So he took him to court, and he actually won, believe it or not. He's actually got a really good TED Talk on there about guerrilla gardening, if you go look him up. And for the life of me, I can't remember the guy's name. But I met him at the Urban Farming guys in Kansas City at their place. And he's a really neat dude. You know, add to all the above, neighbors who aren't prepared, and you realize you may be the only one within shouting distance who has food after 1 week. You know, that's a sad commentary about the state of the United of our culture is that a lot of people only have about 3 days worth of food in their pantry, you know, and they literally go to the grocery store every third day. Next slide. Now, if you're living in the suburbs, there are some advantages. You know, you can have a small garden. You know, you can, well, hang on a second. But you can have a small garden. Oh, these are the advantages. Okay, hang on a second, guys. I just got my slides and stuff. Okay. Here's some practical solutions if you're living in the urban or suburban core. What can you do? You can actually do quite a bit. Food preparedness in the city and suburbs comes down to strategy, efficiency, and stealth. Let's break it down. All right. Long-term food storage. You know, we can focus on shelf-stable staples like rice, beans, oats, canned goods, pasta, salt, peanut butter, etc. Oh, look, Barbara S. from Los Angeles just popped in. This is probably right down your alley. The next thing we can do is we can store buckets in totes and bins. We can place them under beds. We can put them in closets, and we can put them behind furniture. We can use oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags to extend our food preservation out 10 to 25 years. And finally, we can build a working pantry, making a can rotator, which is first in, first out to keep things fresh. Now, let me remove this. I got a picture here. So this is what a homemade can rotator looks like. And I built one just like this, except only instead of having 2 rows, I only had 1 row. This is a 1,000 can rotator. The one I had would only do about 480 cans, the way it was built. But we used it when we lived in the suburban house, and it really worked because we were able to buy stuff in bulk and it was compact. 450 cans is quite a bit of food, and it's easy to build. I think mine back 15 years ago only cost about $50-$60. It's probably double that now, but still, you're still at that price, being able to get that much food storage. You can stick that in a closet in an apartment or in a basement down in the suburbs, and have it work perfectly for you. Now, I mentioned the Mylar bags and the oxygen absorbers. So I went out in our Grumpy Acres food store, which the link is down below. I actually put a couple of these out there so you could see what they look like. I don't know if let's see what that looks like on the screen. Yeah. So the Mylar bags, that's a 5-gallon Mylar bag, and that's the oxygen absorbers. Now look, before we go on, somebody's going to watch this video, and they're going to go down in the chats, and I know exactly what they're going to say. They're going to say, oh, this dude's just trying to sell stuff. No, I'm not trying to sell stuff. The reason why I'm pulling this stuff up is because this is all stuff that we use, and I want to show you guys that we use it and we bought it in the past and we believe in it. And I want to give you the opportunity to see what it's like and purchase it if you want. Don't buy it through our store. If you think that, if you're cynical and you think I'm just trying to make money off you, go buy it someplace else. There are all kinds of other places than Amazon that you can buy this stuff. I just want you to see what it is so you know what you're looking for. Okay, that's why we're doing the YouTube store here. All right. Now, the next one, compact indoor growing. You can grow microgreens, fast, nutritious, low profile, and they're ready within 7 to 10 days. You can actually eat them after a week and a half. Herbs and leafy greens, grow them in a windowsill or under grow lights. If you go back in some of our old videos, you can see in the thumbnails the grow lights that we have here in the kitchen here at the new Grumpy Acres. Vertical garden towers. They work on balconies and small patios. They have a very small footprint. And then sprouting, beans, alfalfa, lentils. All these sprouts can be done in a jar with paper towel and water and no soil. And the once they sprout, the nutritional value of these things is off the chart. Now, again, remove this and let's go back to the Grumpy Acres store. And I want to show you some of these things. All right, where is it? Gardening. I think they're in the gardening section. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right. So here we've got, so if we look on the screen here, we've got the UV grow thing to sprout, and Yoda's been using this to sprout greens and tomatoes for the garden and everything. Works really well. I'm really pleased with it. And then right next to it here, we've got a mini grow tower. There's 4 things here. This thing's only about 3 feet tall, and you can stick it in a corner where it gets direct sunlight, or you can put it on a balcony or on a back patio. Great thing, small footprint. You can produce a lot of produce out of it. And then right next to it is a grow tower. Now this grow tower is not the one we use. We actually use the green stock grow tower. Let's see if I put that on there. No, I didn't. I put a couple of, I guess that one is the green stock. Yeah, this is the green stock. This is the smaller green stock. The green stock that we use is actually the 7 tier instead of the 5 tier. But I really like them because it's got a water reservoir on top, and you put the soil and everything in below that, and you can just water it from the top, and everything stays growing. I'll be completely honest, and Skeins can verify this because she was here this weekend. This year, it's got some stuff in it, but most of it's just grass. All right, I'll be honest with you, and it's just weeds and flowers and stuff. There's not a lot of food in it this year. I've been focusing on some other stuff, but there are some bay leaves in there that are huge. They are monstrous. In fact, I ought to go get a shot of them and put them in the community post at some time. But so these grow towers, and so the green stalks are more expensive And that's why I put, if you go to the store, I put this next one here, this one that's on the second row. Same design, not as expensive, and I'm gonna bet if I was gonna wager money on it, I'm gonna bet it's not quite as long lasting and well built as the green stock. I've been really impressed with the green stock. Okay, let's remove that and go back to this. Let's see here. Next one. Next thing we can do is food preservation skills. We can learn these skills. We can learn canning, dehydration, fermenting, and vacuum sealing. Even in a small kitchen, you can preserve excess food and reduce waste. Now, Skane said, yeah, there were some weird looking herbs in there. Canning meat, beans, and broth can be powerful protein backups. All right. And talking about the canning, let's talk about the canning for a little bit. I'm gonna remove this, and I'm gonna talk to you about the canning. You know, you can go into our canning videos. If you go in our back catalog and do a search on canning, there's probably 7-8 videos on it. If you go to not Kentucky Sustainable, if I remember correctly, they've got a video of the canning. No, they don't. That's not where they did it. Anyway, but you can go see these things. And we are huge proponents of food preservation, freeze drying, dehydrating. I don't have it in the Amazon store, but I ought to get it in there. We have an Excalibur dehydrator that's digital and works great. I love that thing. We're also, as you know, we're big proponents of freeze drying, and we are affiliates of Harvest Right. Links down below if you want to explore getting one. They are expensive. The cost to get into them can be prohibitive. You know, so maybe you hook up with somebody that's got a freeze dryer and you barter with them. You know, that's part of full spectrum preparedness is being able to barter for your food. You know, the reduction of waste is phenomenal. We don't throw that much food away, and because we live on land, when we do throw food away, a lot of it goes to the chickens or the goats and sheep. You know, it's a matter of maximizing what you have. Excuse me. Let me get some water. You know, but these are all skills that you can cultivate, and it's important to cultivate them now when you're not starving and there's no risk of starving, than waiting until something happens. And there's a ton of people out there. There's a lot of great YouTube videos on food preservation, and a lot of people that do this love sharing their experiences. You know, and it's gotten to the point with the canning and preservation stuff that they used to call it rebel canning. We don't call it rebel canning here. We call it heritage canning, because you can do so much more than what the USDA wants you to. All right. In fact, the pressure on the Ball Canning Company and the USDA, the new ball jar recipe book, from what I understand, has water bath canning, or I'm sorry, pressure canning of meat in it. So it's, you know, people are learning how to do it. Lynn says water bath canning, not pressure, sucks indoors. It drives the humidity through the roof. I know how, but I hate to do it if needed, if I can do it. Okay, that goes to the next one. That we're gonna go to the next one in this list. Stealth and discretion. All right, you see where I'm going here in a second, guys. Don't advertise your preparedness. In a crisis, cooking smells and visible gardens draw attention. Canning. When you're preparing the food for canning, it does create smells. If it's the summertime and you don't want to do it inside and you've got space, buy a propane burner and do it outside. Learn how to do it over a fire, and you can do it. It takes It takes a little bit of work, but you can do it. All right, it's possible. In fact, if you live in the suburbs and you can build an outdoor kitchen, do it. I'm gonna hopefully have one built by the end of the year, and we're gonna be able to use it outside and not inside where it's heating up the house. Although in the wintertime, it does help when there's a lot of cooking going on. All right. Use blackout curtains and cook with low smell, low visibility methods like solar ovens and alcohol stoves. I told you the story about the All American solar oven, which, by the way, is our affiliate link is down below if you want to explore those. We highly recommend it. They had during COVID, they had some supply chain problems, but they've gotten that resolved, and they're getting stuff out. Alcohol stoves. The reason why alcohol stoves are better indoors is because there's no fumes. You can cook without it. You can go, in fact, the little camping stoves that they have now, the little butane stoves, can bring a couple of cups of water to boil in about 3 minutes. They are very high efficiency. And eventually they're going to go into the Grumpy Acres store. I'll get them there. I'm just not to the point where I want to put those on there yet. And then consider low-file food storage in non-traditional containers or hidden compartments. There are a lot of people, what they'll do is their bed, they'll take and put bricks underneath the feet of their bed to raise it up, and then they'll slide those very flat bins underneath it, and then they'll put I don't know, what do they call a skirt around the bottom of it to hide what's in there. A lot of people come up with very ingenious ways. I've seen people hide food inside furniture, inside couches. There's a lot of empty space in there that you can do that. If you're remodeling your suburban house or your apartment or condo, false walls are very easy to do. It just takes a little bit of creativity to come up with the idea. Lots of stuff online about creating hidden spaces in your dwelling, but it's something to think about. And finally, alternative food sources. We talk about this all the time. Join or form a local co-op or CSA, community supported agriculture. There's a website out there that you can actually look up. You put your zip code in, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it. I probably should have found it for you guys, but you can go out there and it will tell you all the CSAs that are within a given area. You tell it how far you want to drive, and they will tell you what CSAs are out there, give you their websites, give you their contact information, and you can go contact them. And if you don't know what a CSA is, all it is it's a farmer that sells shares in his farm to help offset the cost of planting at the beginning of the year. And as a dividend, you get produce off the farm. And, I've seen CSAs that do like just a very specific thing. And I've seen CSAs that do fresh chicken, farm-raised chicken, turkey, pork, beef, vegetables, flowers. I mean, I've seen it for all kinds of stuff. And then the local food co-ops. I mentioned the urban farming guys in Kansas City, and these guys are urban homesteaders, and they formed, they're homesteading there, but they provide gardening space to the community free of charge. And I take that back. I think it's like $8 a year to pay for maintenance on the beds themselves, but they will help people grow their gardens, and they provide free food. And another one is, and a lot of people don't like this because they feel like it's charity. Organizations like Harvesters. We do Harvesters on the first Friday every month where I work. We go out and we hand out food, and all Harvesters, these organizations like Harvesters, big box stores and grocery stores get a tax write-off for getting rid of food that they don't want to sell. It's close to an expiration date, or it's past an expiration date. Maybe some cans are dented. Maybe some fruit or veggies going bad. So they stick it on trucks, and we literally get 10 to 15 pallets every first Friday that's not a holiday, and we give this stuff away. I mean, there's times that I've put 50-pound bag of potatoes in people's cars and still had stuff left over, to the point where I was bringing them home, cutting them up, and giving them to the animals. So there's all kinds of alternative food sources, organizations that you can go to. The next one is foraging. Learn edible wild plants in your region and go look for them. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at how much food you can forage in a city. I was working in downtown Kansas City at a major hospital, and I would go on walks. And as I'm walking through these neighborhoods, they were urban neighborhoods, so they had 1/10 to a quarter acre lots. I was amazed at how much edible stuff was just along the street right there. And then I told you about the guy in Los Angeles that was doing the guerrilla gardening. You can guerrilla garden. Go to a city park, find a place where they don't mow, and just throw some seeds down. Make some seed bombs. Take a little bit of clay, take your seeds, put them in there, and as you're walking along, just chuck them out. Chuck them out on the side of the road. The rain will wash away the clay. The plants will come up after time, and you never know what's gonna pop up. I've seen it in Kansas City where people have guerrilla gardened in city parks, and there's literally cucumbers and pumpkins and melons growing on the side of these parks in Kansas City where people have guerrilla gardened. And finally, as an alternative food source is neighborhood trades. In a crisis, someone's got eggs, someone's got beans, and barter begins. That's one of the pillars, or the ethos of permaculture, is sharing the abundance. All right. And if you truly believe in permaculture as a great idea, this is something you need to do. You don't hoard your food. If you have an abundance, you share with your neighbors, you share with people that might need it. It's a great thing to do, because it number one, you could be helping somebody that needs help. Number two, you do feel really good. It does, the dopamine kicks in and you feel really good. And number three, you're opening the door to permaculture and preparedness to people that may not know that much about it, and it's a conversation starter. And the bartering. This is all something we should be doing right now. Don't wait until a crisis. I said in a crisis, the bartering begins. Excuse me. Don't wait for a crisis. Learn to barter now. Very few people are born hagglers. A lot of people have to learn. I'm one of these people that had to learn how to haggle. And it's something that you can develop now. It's one of the reasons why at Midwest Preparedness Festival, whenever we started as a simple camp out with 7 to 12 families, we started Bartertown, was because we understood that we needed to learn these skills, right? And I'm going to say hi to some people that popped in that I didn't say hi to. I see Rosie popped in, Independent Mini. I see who was it? Shannon's Bible readings and study popped in. I don't think I said hi to Susie or Gregory whenever they popped in. I hope everybody's having a great night. All right, now finally we're getting to the slide. I completely missed making a slide for that last part. So there are some advantages if you live in the suburbs. Number one, small garden plots and raised beds. When we lived in the suburban lot in Pleasant Hill, I built almost 1,000-foot square garden. In fact, the garden in our backyard was as big or almost bigger than the house we lived in when we first got out of the Marine Corps, which was 900 square feet. The garden that we had was literally almost bigger than the house we lived in originally. You've got more space for container gardening. You've got that back deck. You've got the patio. You can do that. It opens up the possibility of raising quail or rabbits discreetly. One of the things about rabbits and quail are that they're very quiet, and they a lot of places you can, if you're caught with them, you could literally play them off as pets. And quite frankly, the when we were raising rabbits on the suburban lot, the breeder pair, they were pets. JJ and, oh gosh, Angela, what was the name of the female that we had? But a breeding pair, I'm sorry, 2 does and 1 buck can produce almost 200 pounds of protein a year. All right. And then you've got quail. I was never into eating the quail. We never did eat our quail, but we had about 12 quail when we started, and we were getting enough eggs that it was supplementing buying eggs from the store. And quite frankly, quail eggs are delicious. Angela started doing Scotch quail eggs, and they're just perfect little bite-sized egg and sausage bites. Very, very good protein source. And then naturally, if you're living in a house instead of a small apartment, you've got much more storage space in garages and basements and such. Now, if you're living in an apartment, a high-rise apartment complex, you might want to talk to the management and find out, if you don't already know, if you've got storage down in the basement. Because I know in a lot of places in the city, they will have storage rooms for each individual apartment, or cages or whatever, and you could store your stuff down there. I'm not going to say it's completely secure, but if you hide it properly, you camouflage it. Yeah, you can hide a lot of stuff in a little tiny space. And use every inch wisely. A 4x8 bed can grow hundreds of calories. Consider edible landscaping, planting fruiting bushes and perennials that don't scream prep or garden. There's a fantastic book out there, guys. If somebody can find the link to this, title is called the Edible Front Yard, and it's a fantastic book that combines the idea of curb appeal with creating an edible front yard, and the aesthetics of it all. So I just read it recently. I should have done a review. I got it from the library, but it did a really good job, and it gave a lot of good planning combinations and planning ideas. It's a fantastic thing. Now let's go back. I want to show you guys something in the Amazon store. So this one right here, this is called the seating square, and let's see, can I bring this? No, I can't bring it up. Anyway, if you look on the picture, she's holding a little plastic square, and she's in a raised bed, and it's marked off in 1 foot squares. And what this does, it's a template, and it's got all the different fruits and veggies that you grow in a garden. It's got them labeled on there, and you push this down into the dirt, and you put your seeds, whatever you're growing, into this square, and it allows you to maximize your food production in the space. And then the book right next to it, that's a book that it's not in I was looking for it in my library, and I can't find it. I know I've got it. Maybe I don't have it, and I just borrowed it from the library. But it's called Square Foot Gardening, and it gives you all kinds of ideas, and it tells you how to maximize the edible front yard. Thank you, Independent Minnie. It tells you how to maximize your gardening spaces, and it's a fantastic read. And I mentioned these books. If you don't want to buy these books, go get a library card. With the advent of digital library, digital card catalogs and everything, and sharing of books across different libraries, you can find this. I guarantee you can find these titles within your public library. All right. So I highly recommend getting these titles. And if you're trying to do the gardening by the foot, we've got one of those templates, and we used it when we were in the suburban household, it got put away someplace, and quite frankly, I'm not quite sure where it is, but we haven't used it. We didn't use it on the Grump Acres farm lot there in Pleasant Hill because the garden is just so big. I wasn't really concerned about maximizing every square foot because I had a whole ton of square feet to expand in. And then here we're trying to rehab the land, and I might, excuse me, I might try to find it and pull it out because I am building some raised beds to separate some parts of the property, and then we've got the raised beds out front, and I want to think about maximizing that space. So we may go back to using it. All right. Food storage. Let's talk about the food storage in the basements. I showed you the Mylar bags and the O2 absorbers. Those are 1,000 cc food absorbers, and that's what we use in our buckets that we put together. You can get food grade buckets. I did not put a link to them. I did not put them in the Amazon store because you should not buy them off of Amazon. Find a local supplier for these buckets. A lot of grocery stores get food grade buckets because the cooking fat and the stuff for their donuts, the frostings and everything come in there. Donut shops are a great place. If you can find somebody that's selling them, we had a guy in Kansas City that was getting food grade buckets from food processing plants, and he was getting them at like 1,000 at a time. And as a group, we would put together buying plans, and we would buy 200, 300 of these buckets and lids at the same time, and we were getting them $1.25, $1.25 for a bucket and a brand new lid. So they're probably more expensive now because of the COVID fallout. Angela's sitting here. She says they're $2.50 to $3 now if you can find them. But go out and look for those things. They're a great resource, and if you've got the space to store buckets, it's a great way to get 10 to 25 years out of your food. All right, next slide. Urban food preparedness is a wake-up call. Food preparedness is an urban or suburban environment is about efficiency, adaptability, and long-term thinking. You don't need a farmhouse to survive. You don't need a homestead like what we have. You don't need a bunker or a silo or a root cellar. What you need is a plan. If you live in the city or the suburbs, your food supply is built on fragile systems, trucks, power grids, and just-in-time inventory. When you break those, and they break, your grocery store is empty in 48 hours. I want you guys to think back to the COVID crisis, the pandemic, and think about what happened to the grocery stores when they shut down the supply centers and they shut down trucking and they made it hard to get the food to the stores. Think about all the empty shelves. Think about all the empty shelves that we're seeing now, and it's a growing problem across the country because, quite frankly, I don't know why they're having supply chain problems around. I know part of it is a fallout if you're living in the southeast. I know part of it is a problem because Hurricane Helene. If you're living on the West Coast in California, you're living in Los Angeles, maybe part of it's because of the riots and the fire that happened. Maybe that's part of the problem. But it's really I don't understand. I don't want to say confusing because it's not confusing, but I don't understand why it's happening. So taking a step back before you move on. Gregory's asking, isn't there a mark on the bottom of the plastic buckets that tell you what they are, if they are food grade? Yes, there are a mark off the top of my head. I cannot remember what it is. I'll tell you what I'll do. After this is over, I will go. Probably won't do it tonight because it's going to be dark. I will go grab an empty bucket and I'll get on the bottom. I know what it looks like when I see it, but off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is. If somebody knows in the chat, you can go ahead and post it. But I'll do a short video and show you what that looks like, and show you what the mark is, so you know what you're looking for. I know a lot of the non-food grade buckets have the PGC on it for the non-food grade plastic that they use. Yeah, Barbara S is saying yes. The Los Angeles is having problems because of the riots and the fire that happened. Probably doesn't help that you have periodic power outages too. So, as like I said, you've got options. You can store real food even in a tiny apartment. If you're storing long term in cans or dehydrating or freeze dried, whenever you buy store bought food, the nutritional efficiency of those cans go down really quick. The best by date on those cans is the last date that the manufacturer can guarantee food quality and nutritional value that's on the label. Everything else after that, it goes down. Now you can eat a can that's been out, it's past its due date. I've eaten a can of raviolis that was 10 years past its best used by date. Quality was not good, taste was not good, and I guarantee you that the nutritional value was not there. And it was just I wanted to see if it was edible, and it was. But you're gonna have problems if you're relying on that. So you can store real food. You can grow something edible even in jars. As I said before, the sprouts, when you sprout the stuff, those things are packed full of nutrition. What are they called? The bean sprouts. Bean sprouts, super easy to do. You get one of those little hydroponic things like I showed you in the Amazon store. You can grow sprouts there. You can grow sprouts.
Did you get the picture of the tower that I put?
No, I didn't. You can grow sprouts. I was growing alfalfa sprouts in 5-gallon buckets. I had a system. If you go out to Jack Spirko's preparedness podcast, if you go out there, he's got a link to a video he did about creating these 5-gallon buckets for containers, and it literally created a mat of sprouts that was about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick and as big around as the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket. And because you're using multiple buckets, you can literally have one of these discs after the first 7 to 10 days. You can have one of these high nutritional value discs ready every day. All it takes is about 5 minutes a day to create these things. In fact, I probably ought to go out there. I know there's a video on YouTube that you can find that tells you how to do this. I'll find the link for it, and maybe I'll make a community post about it. All right. You can learn how to preserve and feed your family when it matters the most. Like I said, canning. Go to our back channel, look at the videos that Yoda did. There are tons of great canning videos out there. Canning channels. Make it make. Yeah, that's the name of the channel. She does a fantastic job. I'm doing a class on cheese, on making cheese, so you can make your own cheese if you've got a supply of milk. There's a ton of stuff out there, a ton of people out there willing to share their experiences and their skills. You don't have to be afraid, and all you have to do is get started. Seriously, that journey starts with that first step. And that sounds cliched, but it's true. Full spectrum preparedness begins with food. Start with a 30-day supply and build from there. One of the things that I tell people as a permaculture consultant, and I got this from William Bond, and it's 100% true. Before you start doing permaculture on your property, get 6 months worth of food started up, because that's how long it takes all your systems to start fully producing. Same thing in an apartment or on a city lot. Have 30, 60 days worth of food saved up so that in case something happens, you've got a backup plan. And rotate it. The can rotator, first in, first out. If you don't know what that means, it means whatever went into the system first is the first one out whenever you start eating stuff. Yeah, Susie says Greg makes yogurt for her, and she's made a farm cheese. You know, when I've got access to fresh milk, every other day I'm making fresh yogurt, and I'm eating yogurt every day. You know, so you can do that. We're kind of in a dry spell right now because one of the milk suppliers dried up, the other one's got a cow with pink eye, and so we're kind of if I want to make yogurt, I'm gonna have to buy store-bought milk. And yes, it is a little bit cheaper. No, the quality is not the same. It's just it's light years from where fresh milk is. You know, and don't let the government lie to you guys. Don't let the government lie to you. Fresh cow milk, unpasteurized, is not dangerous. It's healthy, and as long as it's safely handled, completely 100% safe. All right. Now, the next thing you need to do, you know, you want to diversify your calories, proteins and nutrients. Where you get them from. You know, you can get proteins out of nuts. You don't have to have meat. You can raise the rabbits like we were talking about. 2 does and 1 buck, almost 200 pounds of protein a year. That's quite a bit, especially if you're not on a carnivore diet and you've got access to other things. You know, one of the things I mentioned earlier was Azure says that you need a 4,000 square foot garden to feed one person for a year. And what that is that's eating solely from the garden. Once you start diversifying your food sources, adding proteins, adding foraging, adding hunting, adding guerrilla gardening, adding all this other stuff, the footprint for that garden goes down dramatically. And even if you're solely relying on a garden, you know, you can find this on YouTube. There's a guy in Los Angeles that raises 7,000 pounds of food on his lot in Los Angeles. Now, efficiency. This guy is the most efficient farmer / rancher, whatever you want to call it. He does have livestock and chickens. He is the most efficient person I've ever seen in my life as far as this goes. This guy, every single square inch of his yard, his property, is dedicated to food production. And he did it just to show that it could be done. And it's if you can find the video, it's a fantastic video, and the guy's just done a phenomenal job. You know, okay, back to the slide. You know, and like I said, practice cooking what you store. This is one of the things that a lot of preppers do is they buy stuff because there's lists, there's people telling them what they should buy. They buy this stuff and never eat it. And then when the time comes, number one, they don't know how to eat it. How many people in chat know how to cook beans? You can't just throw beans in water and throw them on the stove. They have to be prepared in order to eat them. Now, I learned that lesson the hard way when I was in my I was in my late teens, actually, when I struck out on my own. I learned that the hard way. I learned that you had to soak beans before you cook them. Also, they'll put these beans up for 20 years and then they'll break them out, you know, because they're rotating. They've been doing it for a long time. And they're like, these things are uncookable. You can't cook them.
Add an onion.
You can do several things. You can pressure cook them, makes them more soft. Angela says you put an onion with them. I would suggest just grinding them into a paste and have a bean paste. Make a bean paste. You can do all kinds of recipes out there with bean paste. But a lot of people, they don't know this because that's not the sexy and glamorous side of prepping. All right, the nuts and bolts of actual preparedness are not the sexy things that people like watching videos about or get excited about. And content creators, a lot of content creators don't provide this information because it doesn't get clicks. All right. So these are things that you need to think about. And finally, learn how to grow something edible. Even if it's in a jar. I'll go back to that multiple times. Guys, listen, doing that type of stuff is so dead simple that even I can do it. Seriously. Even a Marine can do it. It's something that we can do very easily, and it makes it worthwhile. I'm going through my notes here. I want to make sure I covered everything for you guys. Yeah, I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the presentation. Okay, we are. We're getting to the very end. All right. So here's my call to action. All right. So the next video is going to be about water preparedness in an urban and suburban environment, because food without water is a short-term fix. All right. My call to action to you over the next week, and this is very simple to do. Do a quick inventory. If you're living in an apartment, or you're living in a suburban lot, or a small, like somebody mentioned that they're in a trailer, do a quick inventory of your food. You can just do a spot inventory. I've got an inventory worksheet. It's an Excel sheet. Anybody can do it. I think I'll have to go back. I may have already put a blank one in the community post. If not, I'll get one. I'll get a blank one and I'll put it out there. But do a quick inventory and see where you're missing. Try to find those holes and do that before we come to the next video. And let me know. Get in the comments and don't divulge any pertinent information, but just let people know that you did it and what holes you found, because somebody else may find the same hole and they'll go, okay, I'm in the same boat as so and so is. So maybe we can talk in the chat down below, in the comments down below, and come up with a solution on how to fix this. If you found this video useful, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Let the algorithm know that you like this. Like I said at the beginning, if you're not a subscriber, you're new to the channel, and you like this, think about subscribing. We talk about things like this all the time on this channel. We talk about preparedness and building community, modern self-sufficiency, starving the beast, and all the nuts and bolts that provide us the freedom and liberty that we currently have in the United States, that they're trying so hard to take away from us. And that's a whole other video. But you can go back on our back channel, or our back catalog on the channel, and find all kinds of stuff about all these different topics. All right, and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos come out. And here's one that I haven't said before that I think is really important. If you know somebody that's living in a city who's just now waking up to the reality that the systems fail, share the video with them and let them know that just because these systems fail, that they don't have to. All right. There's no reason in today's day and age, in the country, the most prosperous country in the world, that you cannot be prepared. The only reason why people are not prepared is because they're not actively doing it. They have not made the conscious decision to be prepared. And that's the key to all this, guys. That's the key to living a life done free. That's a key to building community. That's a key to food preparedness and food independence. That's full spectrum preparedness. If you put it all together, all those different aspects, they lead to food independence. So you're not relying on the system. You're not relying on the government for help. You know, one of the things that's in the news right now, they're screaming about all the people that are going to starve to death and not get medical help because they're cleaning up the rolls for SNAP and Medicaid. They're kicking people off of it that are perfectly capable of working. They're kicking illegal aliens off of it. They're making it so that people that genuinely need the help, and I'm an advocate. I'm not a big advocate of government assistance, but I understand the need for it. And our goal is to become food independent through this full spectrum preparedness, become food independent so that we can help people and get them off the government dole. You know, I would rather have my church or my community helping somebody that needs help, helping a single mother, helping an elderly person, so that they're not having to rely on the government. Because once you start interacting with the government for these things, they've got a hook in you, and they can use it as leverage. And if you think food can't be used as leverage, you need to go back and look at history, because food is the largest weapon that a tyrannical government has. All right, and that's what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to prevent them having that weapon against us. All right. Listen, guys, you want to help yourselves. Like I said, I didn't show you the Amazon store because I want you to buy stuff there. I'm not going to complain if you do. These are things that we either used. There's a couple of things on there that I wish I had because I've seen other people have them. But these are all things that we use around here on a regular basis, and we recommend them. There's some stuff that we've bought that I will not recommend because it didn't work out well. Like I said, the plastic buckets. Do not buy plastic buckets from Amazon. Buy them from Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club, you know, the big box stores. Buy them out of necessity if you cannot find a supplier with cheaper buckets. And worst comes to worse, you can store buckets you can store food in non-grade buckets as long as you're using Mylar bags and you're not dumping the food into the bucket, right? Because the bag acts as a separator once it's opened. But go hit the affiliate links and think about if you want to buy something there. You know, that helps the channel. I would rather you do that than do a gift or I don't know what's it called. You know, giving us a super chat, right? I'm not going to complain if you give a super chat, but I would rather you go do something that's going to benefit yourself and benefit us in the process. Okay, guys. With that said, I need you guys to go out and you put your head on the pillow tonight. Ask yourself, am I better off than I was when I woke up this morning? If you're not, go out tomorrow and set that as a goal. Do something that's going to make you more prepared when you go to sleep tomorrow night, and go out and live a lifetime free, guys. Seriously, we need to do this. Take care, and I will see you the next time.
Survival isn't just about having the right gear, it's about mindset. In a world without the rule of law, what will you do to survive? WROL isn't just a game, it's a tool to hone your preparedness and survival mindset. Test your instincts, outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver your opponents in a world that's fallen apart. With WROL, every card you play challenges your thinking, tests your adaptability, and sharpens your ability to make tough decisions under pressure. Whether you are planning for an everyday emergency or prepping for the end of the world, WROL helps you prepare for the chaos of everything in between. Ready to level up your survival skills? Click the link in the description to order your deck of WROL cards today and start building your SHTF mindset. The apocalypse starts here.